Welcome, everybody, to the Unapologetically Me podcast. My name's Ian White, your life fulfillment coach and the president of Coaching Deconstructed. And if you heard the episode that I aired yesterday, I was a little emotional. I was talking about the Las Vegas shooting and how it deeply affected me over the course of yesterday, and what I tried to do to resolve that energy in myself and to feel better after getting caught up in the story on the news. So I actually want to start off with a poem, which is definitely not like me, but I was searching for a cool image for my Instagram feed, and I saw this. It's called "No News is Good News" by F. Kenneth Taylor. No news is good news, because when I turn it on at 5, 6, and 10, all I see, all I hear, is negativity and sin. No news is good news, because even the weather forecast is out of season, 48 hours from the start of spring. And we got people shoveling snow, sneezing. No news is good news, because the cost of living goes up, but minimum wage doesn't. City taxes rise, but potholes fill our streets by the dozens. No news is good news, because even the home team didn't make the postseason. Oh wait, that's right, the home team wound up leaving. So keep it to yourself. I don't want to hear it. I'm better off going nowhere near it. So I just thought that was an apropos note for this particular podcast, which I'm going to call "No News is Good News." I actually heard that expression last night. Something my mother-in-law asked me about some relatives of mine, and I said, no, I haven't heard anything about that. And she said, I guess no news is good news. And I said, that's it. That's my new motto. So what I intend to do over the next month, so the month of October 2017, is to watch no news, to read no news, to absorb no news. And I would put this challenge out to anybody listening to this particular podcast, because the majority of what we see and hear and absorb on the news is negative. It's low vibration, it's sensationalist, it gets ratings, and it just sucks the life out of you. And it did for me yesterday. It really threw me upside down, and I wasn't even close to what happened. I have no relatives there. I have nobody visiting there. I had no reason to watch that particular news, but I sought it out. I watched something, and I was truly affected by it. But what was great was I was able to shift that momentum, slow it down. And if you listen to yesterday's podcast, I talk about the momentum of a train. And if you're going a direction that you don't like, it's impossible to stop on a dime and go back the other direction. But it is possible to slow that momentum down and to slow it down to the point where you can stop it and you can move in the other direction. And that's what I did yesterday. I was able to slow it down a lot before going to bed. And part of what I had to do was to stop talking about it. So anytime a conversation like that would come up, I would say, I'm not going to discuss this. I'm not going to continue to go down that road and to vibrate on that low level anymore. And when I woke up this morning, I was on a really even keel. I was in a good place, and I was able to start my day off pretty well. But I knew I needed to add to yesterday's podcast. I knew I needed to add to it because it felt unfinished. But I was in such a vulnerable state yesterday, I decided to share it anyways because I thought it was important for people to know that you're going to get knocked off course and it's okay. But the faster you can get back into alignment and move back into a higher vibrational state, you are better equipped to take on the day. So I am putting out there a 1 month challenge of no news is good news. So a no news challenge. And the things that I plan to cut out of my daily routine that I was very accustomed to over the past probably close to a year is reading news or watching the news. And for me especially, I would spend a lot of time in my morning prep as I'm preparing lunches and stuff for the kids. I would have my iPad up, and I would watch videos as I would, prepare my morning breakfast and that kind of thing. And I would watch the news of the day. I would watch the late night talk shows that were doing the political satire stuff, and I find that stuff hilarious. Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers and Jimmy Kimmel, and I really enjoy that. But the challenge with that is they're talking about the news of the day, which has a low vibration attachment to the stories that they're talking about. Although they're trying to make things palatable and easier to listen to and make light of some serious situations, it's still attached to that energy. And of course, I would get sucked into that particular story, and I would go and I would seek out more information on that story, and it would drag me deeper into it. And there's so much negativity in the news at the moment, especially in the US, which dominates Canadian TV, that you can't get away from it. So hurricane after hurricane after hurricane, flood after flood, shooting after shooting, Trump after Trump after Trump after Trump. There's so much of it that it just dominates the airwaves. And it's time to unplug. It's time to get away from the news. And actually, I did this in September. Was it September or end of August? I went on a weekend getaway, and I wasn't plugged in at all. I didn't have any internet. I turned off my phone as we entered the camping, and I put it in the car, and I didn't open it again until I got home a few days later. And I really unplugged, and it felt awesome. So I'm going to experiment with a longer duration, and specifically on detaching from news. So I would invite you to join me on the No News is Good News challenge. And one thing I need to be really careful of, and you may have to too if you decide to embark on this as well, is your social media. So how are you going to be able to tap into it, yet not get sucked in and read the news that shows up there? And you might have to disengage from that for a while as well. I'm going to have to kind of sort it out as I go, but it's what I plan to do over the rest of the month of October. It's October the 3rd as I'm recording this right now live. So I look forward to seeing how my attitude changes, and if this has a real effect on me in a positive light. And if it does, maybe it's something I continue, or maybe it's something I learn how to moderate so that I can still remain informed in the world, yet not be sucked in by the negativity that is the predominant nature of news. So I'm going to leave it at that today. This is a short episode, but I needed to tack this on to kind of put a bow on what happened yesterday. And I left things in such a tattered place yesterday. I felt like I needed to bring things back to life. But if you have questions, if you have comments about what you experienced while listening to the last episode, send them my way. I'd be happy to answer or comment on that in a future episode. And I'm curious to know if you're going to go ahead and embark on this journey with me of no news is good news and cut news out of your life for the next 30 days. So that'll do it for me today. Have a great week, everybody, and we will talk soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Unapologetically Me podcast with Ian White, Life Fulfillment Coach.